What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Down to Earth with me, Kristian Harloff. Thank you for being here. As always, look, we've got a lot of news over the last couple of weeks, especially this last week with everything that happened with James Fox and the press conference that went down. Is the needle going to be pushed forward? Rep. Burleson was out saying that we got to push and we have to get the UAPDA passed. We have to do all these things. Is it actually going to happen? I know that people want to see more photos, more videos, all of that stuff. Well, as you guys have heard me say time and time again, I think one of the main things that needs to happen is more and more people need to cover this stuff. One of the people that has been covering it for a very long time, as you guys know, is Ross Coulthart. His show, Reality Check, has covered many big events. They were right in the forefront of this press conference, and producer of that show joins me today, and this is a fun story. It's my friend Meagen Medick is here. Meagen, how are you?
I am great. It's so awesome to see you, and thank you for having me on.
Of course. It was so as people may or may not know, I do another show that's pop culture related, and our mutual friend Roxy Stryer, we were on together talking, and I was telling her, I was like, did you watch this press conference today? And she's like, Meagen's involved. And I was like, wait, what? And then I look, and I was like, it takes me a second to put things together. And I'm like, of course. She's the producer of the show, of Ross Coulthart's show. Mm-hmm. You guys are doing great work over there. You're doing great work. I just talked to my friend Pavel, who runs the channel, and I was telling him that I was having you on. He's like, oh, she's such a great voice in this space. She needs to be out there more, and I'm glad that you are. Let me start with that. Okay. How did you get involved with Ross's show, and how long have you been interested in the UAP topic in general?
Well, I guess first of all, I'm from Vegas. This girl loves Las Vegas. Okay. So, we kind of always grew up with that. Our minor league baseball team was like the 51s, and, right. Aliens were kind of always around. And I've always thought there was more going on. I didn't really do a lot of digging into it, but, we saw things and heard things, and the Bigelow family is so big in Vegas. They formerly owned the ranch out there. So I've always been interested, but I've always been so hyper-focused on news and the news industry. And I've been with NewsNation since 2020. When the network launched, they had 2 executive producers, and I was one of them. Wow. I took some time off, about a year and a half off. And I was the executive producer of Morning in America at the time. And I took a year and a half off. And then when I was ready to come back, I, reached out to my boss, Andy. And I was like, what do you have for me? Like, what's going on? What can I do? I'm ready to get my feet wet again. And he's like, we're really trying to get into the podcast space. So we've got some shows. We've got a religion show. We've got this show. We're thinking about a country music show. He's like, and we've got this one show about UFOs that's doing really well. And I was like, oh, okay, like, sure, like, I'll do anything. Like, I'm a producer. Yeah. I love this stuff. So one thing I'll make very clear about me is that, I think the government is so sketch. And I always have.
Same.
I've never really believed a word they've said. I'm very much a follow the money type person. Like, oh, you say that? Well, who's getting paid? Right. Where's it going? Right. So I started, watching some Reality Check and Ross. And then they're like, hey, we have a dream booking that we'd love to get on the show. How about as your first assignment, you try to go after this booking? I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I emailed this guy. I immediately get a no back. Immediately. And I'm like, what the hell? Who is this guy? Who is this Sean Kirkpatrick?
Oh, wow.
So I Google him. Rabbit hole, meet Meagen, Meagen, meet rabbit hole. And yeah, we've just been going for it.
Tell me about that, because I have you don't have to react to it. You can react to it. I call Sean Kirkpatrick Weselton from Frozen. That's to me. That's
oh my God, that is so funny. I obviously don't know if he's trustworthy. That would be the nicest way to put it. A lot of the things he says does not add up. He did an amazing interview with one of my friends, Mark von Rennenkamp, and I kind of think that just speaks for itself right there. Yeah. So that would be a great interview to watch if you are looking to form a great opinion on Sean Kirkpatrick. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff, and I think that partially what you just said beforehand, right, about trusting the government. I can't. I mean, look, even the advocates of disclosure and everything too. It's hard for me to trust a lot of people too, because as you know, for someone who's so involved in in the news and seeing how politicians work. I'm not saying that it's not that they don't have passion for a particular topic, because they very well could. But let's also not fool ourselves that if they know if it's a politician who didn't have a spotlight on them and then the spotlight starts shining on them because of one particular thing, they're going to lean into that thing more. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong. It's just also you have to be aware of it.
Yeah, and I think that DC can be kind of a swamp. You get there and then all of a sudden people are trying to be chummy with you. Oh, you want to be a big man on campus. Next thing you know, you're involved with this one group. And I think there's just a lot of blackmail. And even if you go in with the best intentions, you just really have to be focused.
So that's why I've done such on a whirlwind of this topic, because as I was kind of briefly telling you when we were speaking off air, that I got into this topic. I've always been interested in the same way that you were, that I've been curious about it. But I was home one day, it was like 2023. I was watching, it was when I still lived in Los Angeles. I was watching this program on National Geographic. It was called UAPs Exploring the Unknown. And it really dove deep into not only just the government that people knew about it, the certain politicians, other people, and that were trying to get clearance, and Chuck Schumer and Rounds and people of that nature. But then it also showed more so on the pilots that were talking about it, and it wasn't just some guy behind a bar drinking moonshine saying, "Oh, I saw something in the sky." So that's when I started saying, "Well, wait a minute." And I started paying attention. Then Ross interviews Grush. Then the hearings happen, and I start to really get involved. And I was like, maybe the government is the way to put forward. But I've had a 180 on that, and I kind of agree with what Matt Brown has said. I think that it's going to come from civilians, and that's what you guys just covered with this conference. It's essentially what James Fox has done, was put things kind of in the forefront here.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And this is where, I talked to Rep. Burleson, and where I think that some wires are just crossed, because I grabbed him in the middle of the press conference, and I just simply asked him, what do you think of the evidence that's been presented so far? And he goes, it's really compelling, but we need physical evidence. We need hard evidence, physical evidence. And I'm like, well, if you're listening to what they're saying, the government has the hard evidence, allegedly. Right. So how are we going to get it if the government won't disclose it? So it's going to have to be through the people, through these whistleblowers. But it's like, we want the hard evidence. We want more people to come forward and speak up. But, oh, wait, we won't sign the Whistleblower Protections Act. It's just kind of like chasing your own tail in a sense. But I totally think it's going to have to be the people coming forward and saying that, and facing ridicule from a lot of people. But I think there's a massive community here of people who believe in support and want to just know the truth about humanity.
Yeah, it's like the chicken and the egg thing, right? Because I think you're 100% right. Because look, Burleson, I've been trying to get him on the show, and we've been kind of going back and forth because I have so many questions that I want to ask him. Like, one of the things that he had brought up initially after the Grush stuff, because he was on that hearing with Grush in 2023, and then he would have interviews that he would say, "Well, I don't have necessarily evidence out there that makes me believe that it's alien or extraterrestrial, but I think that there's something that we should investigate," which is fair, which is fine. But he's also sat next to Eric Davis, who has said there's various amounts of species out there that are alien. He's sitting there and listening to this Varginha case, right? And so I wonder if that has changed his mind at all. And I think that you make an excellent point. If he and the UAP task force can't knock on the doors and say, "Hey, we just had pilots and other people saying that we have this stuff," then what's the point?
Yeah. And, it just goes back to what I said earlier about the money. Like, it just makes me think who's being paid what, who has money hidden somewhere, where if exposing the truth of like a Lockheed Martin or a legacy program type of situation, it's like, who's making money off of that stuff? I just don't know. But there has to be some reason why it's not coming. The government's not coming clean, and it has to be more than, pandemonium. Everybody will freak out. I think that the government has spent a lot of time, energy, effort, and money to basically control the population and get us to believe what they think and what they say is true, and to follow them. And I think that if they came clean with this, it would pull the thread on, hey, what else have you lied about? What else have you hidden from us? I think the list might be kind of endless. So why give the mouse a cookie?
Well, and people don't want to go to jail. It's like a lot of that stuff.
That whole thing.
Yeah, that little thing, right? So I remember listening to, I think Grush was on Rogan when he was talking about how he kind of predicted that the UAPDA would get shot down. This is the first time that it was just done because of those reasons of whether or not it was the people trying to cover up what they've been covering up for years, if it was, whether it's trying to protect the pandemonium aspect of it. I think that's the least of it. It's so funny that you say that too, because I literally had a conversation. I took my friend out. I was a bad friend and a good friend at the same time. I had missed my friend's birthday and I had felt bad about it and realized I was like, oh, and so I took him out to dinner last night and we had a conversation, and he was telling me how my friend watched Age of Disclosure.
Okay.
And he was checking, dude, he's convinced now. He's so in now. And Age of Disclosure didn't have much new information that like you and I would know about, but I think what it does is that it brings in newer people to ask the same kind of questions that I think that you and I are asking. Yeah. But he asked me the same thing. He's like, well, why doesn't the government disclose it? Why haven't they put it out there? And I said, there's so many different reasons. It's a question of, is it going to question your religion if there's real answers out there? Is it going to hurt the economy initially? There's so many different reasons of why you wouldn't do it. I just think as collectively, as human beings, how we don't all want to get together and say, what's happening? Yeah. What's the real answers out there? It's crazy that people don't do that. Absolutely.
And I struggle with that a lot. We are very religious. My family's very religious. We attend church every single Sunday. I read a daily devotional every day. So I think that aspect of it is really hard. Yeah. To try to put the pieces together. But that doesn't mean you should stop being curious. That doesn't mean you should stop wanting to know. I think that you can have a healthy relationship with both believing in life outside of Earth and in a different universe and God. So look, we're all figuring it out. Like we're just one step at a time.
Look, I got a bum shoulder, man. Stupid things happen to my body as I'm getting older. And another thing that happened to my body last year was the holidays. I was traveling a lot. I had a lot of good food, and then you just get a lot of chaos, and it knocked me off my health and fitness goes. And for me, I'm getting older. I've noticed that the holidays, it takes a bigger and bigger toll on my body. But January's here. It means it's time to get back into the swing of my healthy routine, and I have been. I've been hitting the gym, going back to it, and I'm not just getting back into my normal healthy routine. I'm actually helping my body turn back the clock. How are you doing that? Well, you might not know this, but the things that happen to our body as we get older, you get stiff joints in the morning, longer recovery from the gym, there's hair thinning, nails breaking, every skin losing their smooth glow, and that can be fixed. They happen because your body's collagen levels start to naturally decline beginning as early as your mid-20s. Collagen is often referred to as the glue that holds our bodies together, so you can imagine that a decline in collagen production has some big impacts on your body. But that's where Bubs Naturals collagen peptides come in. Bubs helps restore collagen levels closer to what your body naturally had in its youth, so your joints feel stronger, your hair and nails grow healthier, and your skin looks smoother. And it's super easy to use. You mix it into your coffee, which is what I do. Some people put it in their smoothies, or you can put it in juice. It's tasteless, it's odorless, and it dissolves instantly. There's no clumps, no weird aftertaste. What makes it different is the brand is a tribute to former Navy SEAL Glenn Bub Doherty, a national hero who gave his life saving Americans in Libya. Glenn's call sign was Bub, and he was the kind of guy who always pushed for self-improvement and helped everyone around him. That DNA is woven into the brand, and to honor him, Bubs donates 10% of all profits to charities, starting with the Glenn Doherty Memorial Foundation. On top of that, Bubs is built to the highest standard, no junk, zero sugars, sweeteners, or fillers. It's third-party tested, NSF certified for sport, Whole30 approved, and sustainably sourced from grass-fed pasture-raised cattle. Trusted by over 100,000 customers, it was named Best Collagen 2024 by Health.com. Live better longer. For a limited time only, our listeners will get 20% off at Bubs Naturals by using that code DTE at checkout. Just head to BUBSnaturals.com. Use that code DTE. You're all set. You're going to purchase. They're going to say, where'd you hear about us? Please support our show and tell them DTE, Kristian Harloff, sent you. It's true, because it's the same thing I said to my friend last night. I said, look, there's one thing that in a religious aspect of it that it could, maybe it completely goes against what you were taught in one aspect, right? There you think that, I was taught this, but it's actually this. But on the flip side, what if it confirms it? Correct. Like we don't know. So that's the idea of these gatekeepers and the secret holders who have been doing this for so long. And if you look at, I want to dive into where you just were, what that situation was like. James Fox does his press conference tell me about how you guys get involved. And first of all, because you had James Fox on right before the conference. So start with that. Tell me about the initial conversations with James, what was going to happen there, and then you traveling out and covering it and what that event was essentially like.
Yeah, absolutely. So James and Ross are old friends. James has always had a great relationship with the show and with Ross. And Ross was at Contact in the Desert. God, was it over the summer? Maybe in August over the summer, Ross was out at Contact in the Desert. And James was there. And James kind of pulled him aside and was like, hey, Ross, I've got some new evidence coming in the Varginha case. I'll probably give you the exclusive when I'm ready. And James was true to his word. He reached out to us. So I booked him. We chatted. We did an awesome interview. And then the news of the press conference comes out. So Ross knew that this was going to happen. Him and I knew that this was going to happen before it was actually released by James. I think we actually talked about it on the Q&A the week before. So we're like, hey, just come on, give us a preview. Let's chat one more time. And before we did that, Ross and I were on chatting. And I just kind of said, I should go. Like, shouldn't I just go? Like, let me just get on a plane. Like, look, I'll go get a new iPhone. Let me get a tripod. Let's just figure it out. Ross and I always say it's bullshit on the run. So we're like, bullshit on the run. Like, let's just go. We think it's a really big deal. We think that people are really interested in this. And initially, why we didn't, plan further ahead with it was because the case is so niche. It's not like a congressional hearing where you have all these different witnesses giving their testimonies in front of Congress. This is a very niche event, so you kind of have to be plugged in the community to get it, which is why I did that hit on Morning in America to try to explain, no, this is the first time that biologics is going to be presented. That's why it's a big deal. So we just said, I'm going to go. Like, we'll figure it out, Ross, like you and I, we always do. And then we got on with James, and then I just called James, and I was like, hey, I'm coming. Like, what can we do together? And he just was so thankful and so kind and so fair with his time. And so he invited me to come the night before to rehearsals. So he's like, here's what we'll be. Just text me when you're in the lobby, and you can come in. And he came out and he grabbed me, and immediately I walked in the room, and some familiar faces there. Obviously, all of the witnesses who were testifying were there. Jeff Nucatelli was there, and he came right up to me and gave me a hug. So I was like, oh, this is really awesome. So I just sat down and started filming it. And I got the testimony, and Karin, who actually moderated the event, she gave her opening remarks. And you know what? I just can't shut the hell up. So after she gave her opening remarks, everyone's like, well, what did you think? Are there any notes? And I was like, oh God, I have a note. Like, I'm so sorry. I wish I could shut the hell up.
That's the producer.
I can't. I'm like, you buried the lead. Like, you buried the lead. Like, you gave your whole speech, and I made one note. And so my producer brain said, you need to move this up to the front. So she's like, okay, thank you. So she reorganized her speech, and then everyone gave their testimony, and it was emotional, and there was crying. And the group was so tight. There's just a tight niche group. Everyone had each other's backs. Like, no one was taking offense to anything. You could tell they really just cared about getting their story across. So I sat in the rehearsals, and then I went the next day in the room and just got set up. And Ross and I were like, all right, let's do it live.
And you did, and it had great results for News Nation. Tons of people watching it. We're checked.
So thankful. We're so
thankful. And I just watched. I just checked before you came on. I think it's now like 260,000. I think after the live stream was up, so it's continues. People are continuing to watch it and check it out. One of the things that baffles me, and that my audience is sick to death of me saying, because I've been saying it for 3 years. It's mind blowing to me that we have an ex-military pilot out there who's saying part of these missions, knows that there's 40 other potential witnesses that can come forward. Here's Jacques Fillet talking about the things that he talked about in this.
What a legend.
Crazy. So you got all these things. You got James Fox, you have the doctor, you have all this stuff. And yet, to me, the coverage that we saw outside of the UFO community, outside of the normal people who are making the UFO videos, outside of News Nation, I went and I checked to say, well, wait a minute. There's people that are saying there's actual, bodies, and a live alien was with a doctor who is not a crazy doctor. This is someone who's well renowned,
very, very credible.
Yes, very credible doctor, and so someone's got to be talking about it, even if they're skeptical about it. Somebody. So I turn on MSNBC, nothing. Fox, nothing. CNN, nothing. Nobody is talking about it. What needs to be done besides an alien hosting a show for them to actually cover this topic outside of reality check. Honestly,
Yeah.
what can be done?
Well, obviously, if President Trump were to come out and say something, that would get some coverage. If he, posted something on X or Truth Social and said something, that would get some coverage. But to be honest with you, I truly think that people still think that this is a laughable topic and they think it's taboo. Even people that I know well or that I'll see, they're like, "Oh, you're a podcast producer. What do you produce a show on?" And I say UFOs, and they're like, "Oh, haha, that's cute,
Right.
whatever." I'm like, "Oh, it's fucking cute. Yeah, it's so cute."
Right.
So,
scary as shit.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so cute. But do you know about this 23-year-old that died?
Right.
So I just think that people still don't see it as a serious topic. I think that people have their heads down and they're so addicted to the mainstream media and the narratives that they push that they can't look for a big story elsewhere. So I wish more people would cover it. I think that the community in this topic is so strong and that the people are so passionate that I think it would bode them well. But as I said to James Fox in an exclusive interview that I posted with me and James after the thing, I said, you know what? Maybe I hope they don't. Maybe we'll take the monopoly on them. And sorry, mainstream media, for not waking up. But we're not going to stop fighting for it. We're not going to stop telling the stories, even though people, can laugh at it. Laugh all you want. But I mean, if there's life outside of Earth, that's a really big story.
Oh, I mean, it's the only story. It's the only story. It's like, if you look at it, if it turns out to be, we'll dive a little bit more into that Brazil case in a second, because it's like, if all of that stuff is true, proven true, who cares about Greenland? Who cares about all this other stuff when because if you have answers to what else is out there and technology that's able to do the potential stuff that this stuff does, who cares about the minuscule nonsense that we fight about every single day?
Yeah. Well, why do they need us to care?
That's 100% correct. And that's probably one of the reasons why they're not saying anything at all, to keep us in motion, keep the sheep
Look
eating.
over here.
Right. So that case, you hear all this stuff. Now, what were your initial feelings? And had you seen before? How long ago did you see Moment of Contact?
When we had James Fox on originally for his updated, we have updates to this. So before we had him on, that was my research to get prepped for all that.
What were your thoughts of the movie when seeing it for the first time?
I believe this. This. My initial thought was, this is not just a one and done, one night event, one sighting. This is a week of random ass people who have no connection to each other, all telling different parts of this massive story. And when you lay it out the way that James does, start here, ends here, it's like, well, yeah, that all makes sense. Right. And how could three sisters say, oh, we ran into this being and said that, while a doctor's also saying, they don't know each other, there was a being in my hospital. While Carlos is saying, I was at the crash site, I picked up this thing. They pointed a gun at me. And now you have the mom saying they offered me cash. Of course they did. It just all, to me, it just adds up. So seeing it, it's like, it's hard not to believe just because nobody has a relation to each other. Yeah. Unless there's some like extremely weird plot that was like, some person who was like, let me go find the most random people in the world in this town. Let's meet up and let's tell a story. But like, don't you think after 30 years and then James Fox being like, hey, we're going to bring you to the United States and we're going to just put you in front of someone in Congress, whatever. Don't you think that's when you'd be like, oh, James, I don't know. I can't do it.
Just kidding. Like Homer Simpson into the bush. Yeah. Right.
I'm busy at that time. Like, don't you think if you were lying, that would be the big flag of like, it's time to stop lying? And I mean, I met these men. I met their wives. I did an interview. I asked the wives, one of the wives, a question like, how was he at home? Like, if you're lying, the facade has to come down at some point. Wouldn't that be at home? So I asked her what he was like at home. It's like the same, absolutely the same. It's so crazy story.
Yeah, it is, because that's a absolutely tremendous point where it's not three people that are saying it. Three people can join together after a couple of beers and go, look, if anybody asks us, we're going to say this, we're going to say this. Make sure to Joey, don't mess up the story like you did last time.
Yeah,
it's
but drunk Tom's going to fuck it up.
Right. But this is from people from all over this place that all have, it's like it pieces together. The things that were the most compelling to me in that movie was the guy that did the interview that they find that when he's like, I don't remember where it was. And then when he finds it, the emotional breakdown he has.
And it was exactly what he was describing. White House.
Yep.
Field. Like, because that was the part of the movie where I was like, oh shit. Like,
because it was like, he's like, I don't know. I can't remember. And then he's like, whoa. And he's running and they're chasing after him. And it's like, that guy either is telling the truth, or he should be nominated for the Oscar that just came out.
Yeah,
100%.
Sorry, Leo. Sorry, cutie Jacob Eloradi.
Get out.
Whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, get out, because it was so good.
Harloff.
So good, 100%. And then you had, as you mentioned, the girls the fact with their mom and being visited by the men in black, whatever it might be, the doctor side of it. There's so much in there that is absolutely compelling, and it was the one that stood out to me. And I thought it was just. Because everyone always talks about whether it was the Phenomenon movie or now Age of Disclosure, that one didn't come up as much because it's about as taboo to some people as you can get when you hear alien bodies and all that stuff. It's not the first thing that people who are not following this at all are going to go, oh, let me watch that one. Now I believe. It's through government. It's through military. It's through all those things. And that's kind of my next question to you. Okay. When it comes to, this is what I believe and how more and more mainstream people are going to find out and be interested in this topic, because we are a social media, give me junk food kind of culture, right? It's just how we are. And I say that more people know about the Haktua girl than they do about this press conference yesterday, which is crazy.
Wait, why is today, this is the second time today I've heard the Haktua girl be reincarnated into my life.
But you knew about it, who I was talking about, immediately, and everybody else does. People who don't know about this topic knew about that. I mean, that's the type of that can get covered, and everyone knows about it instantly. Yet, a conference about saying that alien life in a body and a doctor was with one doesn't get covered. Yeah. But the way that I think that does change, and what I noticed, because as I mentioned to you, my friend who brings up Age of Disclosure, I'm like, okay, that's a movie that most people in the UFO community didn't hear much new information. But it won my friend over. It got him interested. I'm a believer now. I want this. I want that. I want to learn more about it. And it's a great, it's your gateway. And the reason I believe and because James Fox had a movie come out that was similar to that movie that came out like a year ago. That was very similar to the same type of stuff where he had, I can't remember, the one guy that released the information as a whistleblower, but he did it on Twitter and it didn't get as much.
Age of Matthew Brown.
No, not Matt Brown. Not Matt Brown. It was before that. It was a guy who came out. He's in James Fox's documentary, and he basically James had had released his name too fast. Whatever it was that came out. And to me, that was another one where, like, if you're just getting into the subject, that's what James is doing for you. He's kind of giving an entryway here too, and that's what Age of Disclosure did. But what I think, because Dan Farah, because of who he is in this business, and because he is connected to Spielberg, and his publicist can say, hey, Bill Maher, you got to get him on to talk about this. Rogan, we need you on. And enough people start to hear about it, then that's how they go, and my friend finds it because he heard him on Rogan or saw him on Bill Maher. I think the next wave actually comes from the scripted movies that come next. I think Spielberg's movie is going to answer questions depending on what kind of press they do for it, depending on who talks on it. I think the really important one is the Joseph Kosinski one, because Dave Grush is a consultant on that movie. Yeah. And if that movie comes out and if he's not doing press for it, that's a mistake. Yeah. You've got Trevorrow, who's doing the George Knapp, Bob Lazar movie. And then there's other ones about Roswell that's coming out. So is this kind of the next wave? Is this Hollywood's way of kind of doing it, saying, you know what, if they're not going to do it through government, let us do it through fiction, but we'll tell the truth while we're telling fiction? Yeah,
or is it even like hey, let's wet the whistle and kind of get people adjusted to the idea, entertain them by it, so when it actually is disclosed, they're not going to be completely mind blown? Yeah. You know?
I wonder. That's because I think Spielberg knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah,
100%.
For sure. Yeah.
I think a lot of these guys do. But so Ross, I have more of a love relationship. I don't know. I've never met him before. But I've been critical in certain things with Ross where I think that last year he said in 2025, in the beginning of it, he said all hell is going to break loose in the UFO community. Do you guys think that all hell has broken loose and that he's actually proven to that? Or are there other things? Because sometimes I know how it works too. Someone says, wait until you see what we do. And then they go, well, we didn't do that yet. And he's like, well, I just told people that was coming.
Yeah.
Does that happen often?
I think that Ross needs a lot of credit. I mean, this man works endlessly. He works all the time. And Ross has so many people that he's talking to, so many sources, many that you guys know he has to protect. But I think that he says things sometimes because he does know a lot. And he's just working through the right time to be able to release it. It would be a bummer to, say something or bring somebody on when the story's not fully vetted. That's another thing about Russ is he will not bring on somebody that he is not 110,000% sure about. Jake Barber, it was years. It was years and years long process. And over the last summer, him and I did a pre-interview with a man, and it was about a 3-hour pre-interview.
Wow.
And then Ross is still, every single thing that this person has said, every single sentence, Ross is fact-checking, backing up, calling people, whatever. And we haven't brought it to air because Ross is not completely sure. So if he says, in 2025, all hell is going to break loose, I think him and I actually talked about him saying that. And he was like, well, I don't remember saying exactly that. But, it's also all relative. Like, did we get something from the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, about, the drones aren't real, then we can all break hell loose on that. There are a couple states now that are saying we're going to have our own drone task force that we're going to state fund and stuff. So, he has a lot of information, he has a lot of sources, and I can tell you he is extremely credible and a genius to watch. And I'm very grateful that I get to work with him just as a journalist. From a journalist perspective, it's like, that's how it's done. Ross is how it's done.
You guys are definitely breaking the mold, especially in this topic. And you're right. You both should be thanked for it, because it's continuous news that is coming out about this that people look forward to, because you get the kind of credentials that Ross has and the kind of guests that he gets, that he is the one who's making a lot of headlines and pushing this forward. So last question for you. What's coming up with Reality Check that we should be looking towards? Are there any guests that you can tell us today that we should be looking for, or not yet?
I don't think I have anything that I can share just yet.
That's fair.
I know he's working on a lot. I just reached out to try to book someone for him this morning that he did a 3-hour pre-interview with yesterday after he wrapped doing the Q&A with me. So we've got some things in irons in the fire. And we're working hard, and we're going to keep following the leads and working hard for you. But I promise you will not be disappointed in what we bring to you. We are doing our damnedest to make it great.
I'm so happy that I got a chance to catch up with you.
Yeah,
it's been far too long, and
yes.
I'm super happy for everything that you're doing, and thank you for everything that you're doing. And we'll talk soon. Yeah,
absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you for your time.
You got it. All right. Once again, thank you for Meagan for joining the show here today. Make sure you check out her YouTube channel. She just started a new YouTube channel. It's called Producer Meagan, and she has exclusive content on there. She's got stuff from the press conference of the day. She has stuff with James Fox. So Producer Meagan, I'll put the link in the description for you guys to check that out. And go and check out Reality Check if you haven't done that already. Subscribe to it. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Comment, like, subscribe, do the whole thing. We'll be back here real soon, probably tomorrow, maybe not. I don't know, whenever I feel up for it. I'm just kidding. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.